Welcome to the Darkstream, Vox Day, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Well, it's too hot to concentrate on doing anything significant here, and I've already cranked out no less than 3 very, very different song ideas using that new technique that I told you about on AI Central the other day. So I just thought, you know what? We normally do Arcade Nights. We can't do Arcade Nights tonight because JDA is off celebrating Independence Day early. So since none of that's going on over here, I thought, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do a stream. And I got 1 or 2 things to announce, 1 or 2 things to show you, and then I'll drop a new track on you for those of you who are interested. Anyhow, the first thing I have to announce you might have seen already, and that is I made the announcement on the new history book. And this is not the new history book. This is the precursor to it. So what this is the Art of War in the Middle Ages. And it is the 1885 essay that was published by Oxford University, written by Sir Charles Oman. And it is the precursor to the 600-page book, 668-page book that he subsequently wrote and published in, I believe it was 1895. Great book. Honestly, one of my favorite history books of all time. There's also another edition that came in 1924 that was further expanded and kind of divided into pre-gunpowder, post-gunpowder, roughly. But you know, we've done enough 2-book series, that sort of thing. And plus, I really felt that the single volume is in some ways the superior one. I mean, I really like the original essay, and I'm very pleased to have it. I can't show you the other one because we've already sent it off for deconstruction and scanning. So I'm probably not going to stream tomorrow since everybody's going to be out celebrating and whatnot. So I might as well go ahead and show you what we're going to do for library. I'll announce it tomorrow. This is the 2-volume set of The Tale of Genji. And for those few of you who know what the Easton Press edition looked like, this literally provided their, not only the original text, but the design for the books as well. And so so this will mark both the July-August and the September-October book. This is going to be a fantastic book. Tale of Genji is absolutely critical to having any understanding of Japan whatsoever. And it's also, in addition to being a landmark book, it's one of the first novels ever written. It was written by Lady Murasaki Shikibu in the year 1100. And what's really fascinating about it is that it's probably the closest that you will ever get to reading something by an alien. No, it doesn't include this. This is a public domain version. That was, yeah, I was going to say, what recently? I thought you were talking about the recent translation. I was like, no, we don't have permission to use that. But anyhow, this is a really fantastic version. This is the one that Whaley translated originally. It's the one that I read and we studied in my Japanese literature class at university. And I mean, honestly, it's more influential in Japan than Homer is in English. You know, I just read a book by Hiromi Kawakami, and she literally set part of her novel in kind of a dream accessed Heian Japan. Actually, she said it slightly prior to Murasaki's time, but you know, that's where a lot of the information came from. It was a remarkably female-centric, literate society in that the books that we have from that record are like the Tale of Genji, and also like Sei Shoshin's, I'm getting the last name wrong, but Sei Shonagon, that's it. Sei Shonagon was also a lady of the court at the same time as Murasaki Shikibu. And it's a really funny book because Sei Shonagon is kind of like the bitch of the court. And she's just got a wicked tongue on her. And she doesn't have very much good to say about anybody. So it can be pretty comical to read the Tale of Genji and see these sometimes idealized portraits of various figures, and then read Sei Shonagon. Have a very different perspective. So anyhow, I'm really happy. I was so happy when I managed to find these books so that we could do proper scans of them and really come out with some first-class works. And the reason that I'm so confident that we're going to come out with first-class works, I can show you here in a moment. So this is what we did today. We have, as you can see, hubs. This is the Cambridge History of the Byzantine Empire, Volume 1, and we are going to start actively binding them now that we can do the hubs properly. You can probably see that the hubs are not quite as pronounced as they look kind of like they look more like the goatskin hubs than the library hubs, and this is because the leather is very soft. And one thing that we've learned is that the size of the hubs and the way that the hubs project is very, very heavily dependent upon the leather. And so you may recall that Franklin Library really had these strong projecting hubs. This is much more similar to the Easton Press Castelia Library hubs. It's actually even a little bit less pronounced, and that's because of the softness of the leather. So now don't worry about the stamping. The reason that we're testing the hubs on this one anyhow, because this was one of the early stamp tests. That's why the Castelia Library doesn't show cleanly. But we're working on perfecting the stuff. Silent Draco said, subtler effect with those hubs looks amazing. I mean, the book does look amazing. Personally, I regard the hubs on these books as being a little bit disappointing. Not quite ideally what we'd like to do, but it's it's satisfactory. I mean, the books are going to look phenomenal on the shelf. Frankly, they would look phenomenal if we didn't even do the hubs. But now we've proved that we can, etc. Here's what I mean when I say that we know that we can do better. I had the same case, the same size case, made out of our new pigskin leather. And This is exactly the same tool, exactly the same size bookcase in leather. And you can see how much more pronounced the hubs are. These look exactly like or almost exactly like the Franklin Library hubs. And they're also very hard. And the reason is very simple. Pigskin is both flexible and tough. And when Easton moved away from the pigskin that Franklin always used, and they went to that cowhide, the Italian cowhide that Easton uses and that we have been using, it really was a step down in terms of quality. And that's why we've been looking for pigskin for years. And we were very fortunate to find it when we did. We actually found it only about 6 months after the company began working in the United States. But we're actually able to source it directly from Asia. And it looks really good. I mean, I have you probably can't really tell here, but I have a pigskin book right here, pigskin bound book right here. And the texture and the look is, I would say it's 25% better than the leather that we've been using. It's not as nice as the goat skin, obviously, but it's also much tougher. It's going to it's going to last. We know from Franklin it's going to last indefinitely. Obviously, the stuff we've been using is going to last well too, but I don't think it's quite as pretty. It's not as natural, and the hubs are going to be much stronger here. So, so I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of funny. As you improve, then you look back at the stuff you're doing before, and you're like, oh, you almost feel like you have to redo it, right? So probably the books that are going to be done in the current cowhide are, we'll finish the junior classics, we'll finish the Arts of Dark and Light in order for them to all match. A Sea of Skulls is going to be bound. Both books, volumes 1 and 2, are being bound in the USA July 16th. And Swiss Family Robinson is being bound a month later on August 14th. So those 3 books are coming soon. And then hopefully we'll have all the Byzantine histories bound by the end of July, let's say. Let's be realistic. And then we hit everything else. Then we keep things moving. We've got a bunch more to do. We got a lot to catch up, but now we have the ability to do that. And I think that we should be able to, get moving and start catching up relatively quickly. So, anyhow, that's what's going on. We don't stop. we just keep banging away until we figure it out. And but I'm really pleased that we're going to be able to continue to improve the quality. Since it's Arcaven Nights night, we should probably talk about comics a little bit. And what I think is worth discussing is the news about Diamond Comics. Diamond, as you know, they distribute the comics, and I believe, let's see if we can look it up here. Fandom Pulse had an article about it. Let's see if we can access it. Sometimes going through this doesn't work very well, but this should be okay. Only necessary. We'll have to go down a bit. Dynamite, there we are. So I've got some additional information that is actually newer than this. Okay, I don't know if it's letting me. It's not letting me click on it. Well, that's annoying. Anyhow, so what we're talking about is Diamond Entertainment. And so the news that John was talking about was the fact that Dynamite, which is, I don't know, maybe the number 5 comics publisher in the world, they have announced that they are not going to be able to make payroll if the $1 million that Diamond owes them is not paid at the end of this week. And all of the money and all of the goods that Diamond was holding at the time that it filed for bankruptcy have been basically locked up and frozen. Their accounts are frozen, but also no one's allowed access to their warehouse. So there was a lawsuit yesterday, and the judge ruled yesterday that it is not possible for them to unlock any of the funds, any of the money that is caught up. Because what they're trying to argue is that, well, the money that we were owed falls under administrative expenses, and so that money should continue to be paid out even though the company is in bankruptcy. And the bankruptcy judge, it was yesterday, in Baltimore ruled that no, all the money has to go through the bankruptcy process. The money they owe you, you're a creditor. The problem that these publishers have is that they signed really bad, pretty open-ended deals that really didn't spell out what would happen in this circumstance. Because of course, why would Diamond, which was in the position of power, being the only distributor, come up with a contract that says, well, if we go bankrupt, then you guys will get paid first? Especially when they're working with companies that, like whether it's the comic shops or whether it's the publishers, companies that looked at first glance a lot less stable than Diamond itself, and certainly a lot smaller. And so, JDA wrote about this, but I think it's been a bit of a delayed effect, and so we haven't really seen the carnage, the employment carnage and the company carnage that was expected when Diamond declared for bankruptcy. But I think that we're probably going to start seeing it beginning next week. I've already gotten emails from a couple illustrators that had moved on and were working with other folks. And so, there's a lot of, I think that there's going to be a lot of pieces to pick up. One of the reasons that we haven't been pushing too hard on RKM, we did just get, Hypergamos out, but one of the reasons is because we know this is happening. And we're still moving forward, they're finishing up the 12th volume of Alt Hero, and then we'll get that out to all the backers and put it up for sale. But there's a big shakeup that's taking place and going to be continuing to take place in the comics industry over the next 12 to 18 months. And we're just going to lay low, keep moving forward gradually, and we will be around. We're going to be, as the dinosaurs die out, we will be the small mammals that survive and grow. In that vein, just 2 days ago, the legend Chuck Dixon and I signed a contract to write the script for the Black Warrant movie. We'd optioned that previously to a group, and they actually put stuff together, came back to us and said, we're ready to sign the script. So that's been signed, and we're now working on the script for the Black Warrant movie. And we'll see how it goes. know, I mean, we all know about the debacle with the theft of the Rebels Run funds. So we want to prove, you know, Chuck and I both want to prove that there is a legitimate, significant market for Archaven related films before we let anybody, you know, take risks in that regard again. You know, if there's one lesson I learned, it's be very, very cautious when you're dealing with anything that has anything to do with film. Now, it's very different in this regard because, you know, we're not on the money side this time. We're just on the creative side. We have and we retain all of the relevant rights, and you know, it's possible that they will fail to make the movie. It's possible that we'll write the script, they'll pay us for it, and then they won't be able to get the movie out, in which case we've structured it so they have a certain amount of time, and then the script comes back to us. So even that is protected against any form of disaster. Also, you know, we're working with Asian film studios, and frankly, they're just a lot less sketchy. You know, their business model is very different. They just put stuff together and get it out. It's not this like 10-year development process where everybody's posturing about who's attached and this and that, and then they all try to borrow money from here or steal money from there, and you know, and it's all this Hollywood accounting. We're not playing around with any of that stuff, and we're not tolerating that stuff. Chuck's already got exposure to that. You know, somebody said Chuck Dixon's movie The Working Man was great. It was good, but you know, the flaws in the movie were not in the book. That was stuff that the director added, and so that's something that we've been very, very clear about in talking with the studio guys. And they've already got a director picked out. I think that we're going to meet him soon, and you know, we've been very clear about, look, we want to be cooperative, but we also want a director who understands he's not going to tell a better story than the legend Chuck Dixon. You know, he's there to bring Chuck's vision to life, not to create a brand new vision himself. You know, if he was going to, he shouldn't be working with us. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, you know, people always talk a good game. They don't necessarily deliver a good game, but I can say that the guy is definitely talented. You know, he knows how to film things, and he's even done some script writing himself, and he's good. So, you know, we'll see, and we'll see if he actually, you know, comes on board, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, there's a lot of pieces that still have to come together, but you know, things have moved forward from the last time that I told you, oh yeah, you know, they've taken out an option on Black Warrant. Well, they did, and now we're signed for a script. So you can guess what I'll be doing over the next 2 months with the legend. So anyhow, I promised a tune. So those of you who aren't interested in this sort of thing are free to leave if you wish. I don't take any offense. But this is more of my, shall we say, working on psychosonic ideas. And this is another one kind of based on the whole, this is based on another Gibson novel. I actually did, I think I've done 4 more. 2 Gibson and another one from The Altar of Hate, which is one of my short stories. The log file, if you remember that one. But this is one of the stories from Burning Chrome. And so I named it The Gone Girl, kind of after that, just because the overall concept reminded me a little bit of what my memory vaguely suspected that movie might be, which it probably isn't. Anyhow, so this is The Gone Girl. So that was The Gone Girl, based, of course, on a William Gibson short story. That one actually turned out a lot better than I thought in terms of coherence. Obviously, it's got some rough parts that don't flow quite properly and that sort of thing. But I was really pleased how well it turned out. It's got a lot of room. It's got a lot of space for some guitar and or guitar samples or whatever we decide to do. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. I'm having a blast. You can probably guess what I'll be doing. In any event, have an excellent July 4th. Enjoy your barbecues, enjoy your fireworks, and stay safe, everybody. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream.